This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories. Anakin Skywalker walks through the desert, and he finds remnants of a Tusken Raider camp, the one he visited all those years ago, the place where Darth Vader was born, and he can see a gaffy stick from one of the Tusken Raiders he killed. He tries to use the Force to reach out and pull it to him, but he cannot, because of the planet being cut off from the Force from Palpatine's ritual. Anakin is slightly aggravated, but then tries to reach out in the Force to feel if there's any type of Force connection on the planet, and he feels something, a weak pull, from somewhere familiar. This act causes a ripple throughout the Force. On Coruscant, in the Imperial Palace, Sith Emperor Palpatine feels this ripple. He presses a comlink on his throne. "Commander, put me in contact with Lord Vader," Palpatine orders. "My Emperor." Lord Vader is preparing to attack the Jedi Temple on the planet of Tython. The commander responds. We now cut to the new Jedi Council, which is meeting to discuss about all the Jedi Palpatine killed and how to deal with Palpatine. The council members now consist of Jedi Masters Ahsoka Tano, Grogu, Cal Kestis, Ezra Bridger, and Finn. There is one seat that remains open, which was left open by Rey when she died weeks earlier in Palpatine's ritual. Master Kestis and Bridger are present through holograms. We finally begin with Ahsoka, as she explains to everyone, we all knew an alliance with Sidious was risky, but we were left little choice. The Force told us this alliance was necessary to defeat the Vong, but that led to an evil that was arguably far worse than the Vong. Yes, we knew he was going to betray us, but we didn't know how bad it would be. Kel agreed. There has to be a reason the Force guided us to this alliance, Ezra adds in. Perhaps intended for this to happen, the Force did, Grogu comments in. Finally, Finn blurs out, or maybe the Force made a mistake. The other council members think he is joking for a moment, but realize that he is dead serious. Before they can even react to anything, the temple begins to shake, and Grogu's good friend and father figure, Din Djarin, runs into the room, yelling, the temple is under assault from the Sith. We need to get the rest of the council out of here. You are the galaxy's last hope. Master Kestis and Bridger sign off the hologram, and we finally cut to Vader. Vader is outside of the temple on Tython, as he's easily taking down many troopers. He goes and confronts two Jedi, one male and one female. He takes them out, but surprisingly doesn't kill them, and orders his troops to take them back to his ship. He continues marching straight towards the hangar of the temple, as the Jedi and Djarin also retreat towards the hangar, where Jango Fett Jr., the son of Boba Fett, is waiting for them. Let's go, Jango yells, as the Jedi and Djarin enter Slave 1. It prepares to launch, and is heading towards the exit of the hangar, but the ship has been frozen in place. Vader has caught up to them. Ahsoka, Grogu, and Finn prepare to go out to confront the resurrected Sith Lord, but Djarin just looks at them and turns to Grogu, removing his mask. I'm sorry, Grogu. Grogu looks confused, but quickly, him, Ahsoka, and Finn are hit by stun blasts as Djarin replaces the Darksaber by Grogu and turns around and grabs his old Beskar spear. There are tears in his eyes as he says, "Goodbye." He then turns and tells Jango, "You know what to do once I have distracted Vader. After you've done it, get them out of here. Tell Grogu that I miss him." And Jango nods as Jaren jumps out of the ship. As he puts his helmet back on, speeding towards Vader with his jetpack on, and stabs his spear towards him. Vader easily blocks it with his lightsaber. As Jaren moves to the side, Vader swings his blade, and Jaren again is barely able to block it with his spear. He then fires his whistling birds at Vader, distracting him, as he launches a wire at him, trying to pull him away. Vader swings his blade to cut the wire, but Jaren launches his flamethrower at Vader, engulfing Vader's suit in flames. Vader continues to move on, and Jaren is breathing heavily and sees as Vader completely comes out of the fire unfazed. Vader is tired of these games and grabs Jaren with a force choke and once again pulls his helmet off him. "What did you expect to accomplish, Mandalorian?" Vader asks. "This," Jaren said with a smile. A seismic charge is fired out of Slave One directly at Vader and Jaren. It explodes. We hear the iconic sound, and it seems that both Vader and Jaren are killed. Slave One flies away and enters the atmosphere. There, a Sith destroyer is waiting. Sith destroyers are large ships that are shaped more like an isosceles triangle and the more equilateral shape of Star Destroyers. There's a smaller triangular bridge popping out of the near front of it, and inside, the Sith commander we heard earlier is on this bridge, which is larger than it seems, because the part that's visible of the bridge is only a small viewport. We go now and focus on the commander. We cannot see his face. It is covered by some type of mask, which has many wires going into it that goes up into the ship. He is commanding from the back of the bridge, where there are many hollow maps around him. How many fighters do we have left? Only a squadron of TIE pods. He says, only talking to himself. He finally turns to one of the officers in the room and orders them to launch a squadron of TIE pods. We finally see multiple TIE pods launching out of the Sith Destroyer. And what a TIE pod is, it's not a Tide pod, you know, the thing you use for like laundry. It's a TIE, like a TIE fighter. It's just basically the center part of a TIE fighter that has a droid braid controlling it. It shoots a laser out of the center where the cockpit usually would be. It has an engine on it, and it's filled with explosives, so it could try to destroy a ship once it gets close. Slave 1 flies around, shooting down many TIEs, but they begin to get closer and closer as they begin to overrun Jango. He begins to set in the course for hyperspace, and we begin to hear the explosives arming inside of the TIE pods. Beep. Jango pushes some coordinates in. Beep. Jango continues to be putting the coordinates in. Beep. Jango reaches for the ship to put on lightspeed. The TIE pods begin to explode, and Slave 1 launches it to lightspeed, barely making it past the blast. Now we return to the surface of Tython. We see Din Djarin's empty Beskar armor lying on the ground, and next to it there is a still alive Vader and the remnants of his heavily damaged suit. The Imperial commander, back on the bridge, decides not to report that the Jedi escaped, but simply informs Vader, Lord Vader, The Emperor needs to speak with you immediately. We now return to the interior of the Sith Destroyer, where Vader kneels in his damaged suit. As a hologram of Emperor Palpatine appears, Lord Vader, is the Jedi Council eliminated? No, my master. A Mandalorian sacrificed himself to ensure their escape. Palpatine looks only slightly annoyed and continues, most disappointing, Lord Vader. What are you thinking about? Vader responds, the Mandalorian distracted me until his allies could fire a seismic charge. It should have killed me. I know that you did not make me immortal, but how would I have survived that blast? Palpatine is shocked. He doesn't show this on his face and begins to think, could this be connected to the disturbance he felt on Tatooine, which seems to be getting stronger and stronger? He ultimately decides to ignore the question of his apprentice and continue on. Lord Vader, did you take any prisoners? Yes, my master. I have captured 2 Jedi. They seem to be lovers. Palpatine laughs. Bring them to the Citadel. I will put them through the Grievous program, and then send them to Tatooine. Vader is quiet for a moment, thinking if he should ask his master why they would be sending people to Tatooine. The world is dead. But he decides to keep quiet and not question his master, and simply responds, yes, my master. Vader now gets up as the hologram of the Emperor disappears. He goes to a Mandalorian forger in a black suit and finally tells her, forge me a new armor out of this Beskar. He tosses Din Djarin's armor to the ground in front of her. We finally return to Slave 1 as Ahsoka begins to comfort Grogu. The ship comes out of light speed to a new fleet made up of unkilometer ships and newer Venator-class Star Destroyers, better known as a Jedi Cruiser. Ahsoka definitely feels sorry for her friend. She realizes there are many benefits for the Jedi becoming less strict and allowing relationships to happen, but she does see the downfall of it, as her good friend is now having to deal with this very emotional response to the death of a man he saw as a father. Grogu looks on upon the Darksaber, thinking about both how Djarin sacrificed himself for him, but how he must be able to take on his legacy. And Ahsoka is trying to wonder and figure out how Vader could be back with no trace of Anakin Skywalker left inside of him. Even when they fought on Malachor, she could feel a small portion of Anakin inside of Vader, but now that's fully gone. Now we finally return to Anakin. He has finally reached the point he felt the Force connection in, and reaches out to pull what it is to him. Out of the sand comes his lightsaber, and it flies into his hand. Anakin ignites the blade and walks up to a small hill in the sand and looks into the sky, where he can see the faint outline of twin suns rising. We finally cut to space right outside of Tatooine, where we see a heavily damaged Millennium Falcon. We see C-3PO lying in one corner with no power, Chewbacca lying in a medical station in a coma, and finally see R2-D2 beeping as he moves around the ship. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please like the video, leave some comments, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. And may the Force be with you.